Hello, my friends. I am Dr. Raquel Rubin, Doctora Raquel Rubin, and today I am with Brigette Callahan. Brigette has a very important information to share with us. However, who better to talk about that than she by herself? So, Brigette, would you please tell our dentist practice owners who are you and why should they care of what you have to say?
Well, I love dentists because they help keep my teeth in order, right? But I also understand dental work is like a small business, and how do you get new patients? How do you advertise for them and stuff like that? And what I am is a graphic designer that has worked in marketing all my life. And one of my superpowers is creating slide designs that really speak to the audience. It takes the speaker and connects with the audience on such a higher level that you get higher conversions or more people interested in what you're talking about. And it's been a passion of mine all my life, being an artist and looking at visuals and seeing, what compels someone to want to look at it, for number one. Then number two, like, want to, figure out more about what are they talking about. If you're offering a product, or if you're, captivating someone. I think visuals really help bring that, 1,000 more words per visual spoken without saying the words, right? And 70% of all the people in the US are visual learners. So wouldn't we want to serve them up properly? And so that's my expertise. And I love helping people, if they're using slides when they speak, how to make them so much better.
I feel inspired to delegate to people like you that are inspired to do things from an artistic and professional point of view that makes things look so much better because visuals are important. And nowadays people think, oh, I can download a free photo from social media and just put it there and that's it. However, the difference between a very well crafted presentation and a presentation that was made without any proper planning is really obvious. And there are some dental practice owners that has been developed their careers as speakers because we have the responsibility to educate the community, and some people take desire to take that to a whole new other level. Some I was wondering if someone is listening and would say, okay, give me 3 tips of things that I could start doing while I get in touch with you in order to do my presentations better. What would you say?
Well, what most people do when they're going to create slides is they open up their program like PowerPoint and they just start creating slides. They don't have a plan in place, right? And what I tell people is don't even go there yet. Let's just talk about, what are you going to talk about and what outcome do you want to have? So when you think of like a Hollywood movie, they didn't just turn a camera on and put an actor in front and start filming. They had an idea, they sold the idea to the producers, and then they created a script, so an outline, an actual script of what the actors will say, and then they storyboard it. So once the script is written, then you create the storyboard, which creates the visuals. How are we going to visually walk through the story? And most people don't really understand that, but I grew up in Hollywood and I understand. People were making movies down the street from our house. So I've seen
Wow.
firsthand how these things get built. And one of my first jobs out of college was working for a multimedia company, and the art director would draw all the storyboards to the soundtrack and to the recording. And then from the storyboards, I would create the slides for them. And so most people don't know that that's the order to go, but that's what I recommend. Or if I were to take it off your plate and do it for you, that's how we would work together. So I would find out, my first question out of the gate would be, what results do you want to produce after you finish your talk?
With
And a lot of people
the
don't think that far.
yes, with the that will emphasize the habit of begin with the end in mind.
Exactly.
What is the end that you will love to have, that you will love to create? And I bet that you have a lot of interesting stories of your childhood, seeing all those people making movies around you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was fun. I mean, I went to junior high, and actually that was the year that the Jackson Five came to LA, and they were in our school for about 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah, and I never met him personally, but I saw him on the playground, and we knew who they were. They weren't that famous then, but when you're surrounded by people like that, you kind of have a different viewpoint of Hollywood, so to speak. It's like, these are normal people and they're living their life, and all these people trying to get autographs, like, leave them alone. They're just normal people. Um,
Yeah.
but but by the same token, like Disneyland, we all love Disneyland. When I created one of my first graphics at this multimedia company I worked for, my job was to paint a globe, a real 3D globe, and the water was white and the land was black. I had no idea why. So I went home that weekend, painted it. I brought it back on Monday, and he said, "That looks great. Take it to the photo studio." Oh, well, you guys have a photo studio? Okay. I walk it down there. I hand it to the photographer, and he sticks it on a, tripod spindle, and he spins the globe around 12 times and takes 12 stills. And
Wow.
then that film goes to the Marin Carroll department, where they colorize the film. So this was before computers. This was when slides were made with projectors. Okay. And
Wow.
it was all this process, took about 3 days to create the slides. And then they would animate the slide, because think about a slide projector, an old slide projector, on the screen. Well, think of 36 slide projectors pointing on the screen at the same time. So when you have two side by side and you have one overlapping, and a slide projector takes 2 seconds to cycle. So when you have 2 seconds times 36, you can actually do animation, right? So a
Wow.
couple of days later, I hear this loud music, and I asked my art director, I said, "What's that noise?" He goes, "Oh, they're programming the show. Why don't you go to the theater and check it out?" And I'm like, "You guys have a theater?" I had just started working there like a week before. And so I go to the theater, and it's dark, and the music wells up, and all of a sudden the image comes on screen, and it's this rotating globe moving slowly, and it's kind of blue and green, and it was just like, oh my god, I painted that. So I really felt like it's like I worked at Disneyland or something. I created this visual on screen that's really big, and thinking of how you do the animation and stuff, it's like, oh man, this is it. I love this. So I've been doing it a while, and I've worked a lot of live events where I'm responsible for making sure the slides go to screen, and helping speakers at the last minute if they want to make changes. And so many people, I'd say 95% of all the shows I've seen in 30 years are inferior. I mean, really inferior. And it boggles my mind, because these events are multi-million-dollar events, and they fly their salespeople out to watch it for 3 days, and they put a lot of mind share into, what does the banners look like outside, what does the handouts look like. They don't put much thought to the slides. And when you sit in a room for 3 days, where is your attention most of the time? It's not
To
on the
the same.
banners out in the hall. So it boggles my mind. And I'm seeing too that how that affects the audience. They just get taken out, because you have these white slides with bullets, and it's more text than you can read, and it's over and over, and then they start reading the text, and it's just like your brain goes dead after about 10 minutes. You can't see anymore, and you can't hear anymore. And so you've basically put your audience to sleep.
Yes, that is really sad, because there are some dentists that has really great content,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes they decided to do their presentations by their own, use awful font with awful
Mm-hmm.
colors, that then at the end, the back of the room, you can't distinguish any letter. It's like blur. with like 16 points, different uh, ballpoints in the same slide. And what sometimes people don't realize is that you are going to be judged as your
Mhm.
clinical skills by your presentation. And
Yep.
that's very unfortunate because you could be a great clinician. However, if your presentation doesn't look professional, people will think that is a reflection of the job you are doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the sad part. And we make these snap decisions right away, and they're so subliminal. You know, the judgments that we put on seeing people's slides and their branding and stuff. It's like you can't even put it to words, but the judgment's already there. And how do you clean it up? You know?
Exactly. And also, I remember once I used to contract speakers, most of them dentists. And I remember once, like for 1 hour, the person brought like almost 800 slides. Do you have, a tip? So it is not me, the one who has to say it, please.
Yeah, I think, well, just like if you're working on a tough dental case, you're probably studying that case for several days before you actually do it. You might be consulting other doctors, you might be looking at x-rays. There's a lot of planning involved before you actually do the work. You want to think the same way when you present. You think you know your material, yes. You think you know what the audience is listening for, yes. But if you don't put the time to think ahead and really plan on how are you going to present, you're going to look like you just rolled out of bed and threw some clothes on, basically. And so, and I've seen this because I've worked live events. I'm the one who's working the computer. So people bring their slides to me and I load them on, and I've seen it 800 slides, and they don't put them in order. I'm just going to show these top 20. They just kind of bounce around and then they click, 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 click. Oh, it's this one I want to show. So what that message sends is you don't value my time as an audience member. You don't care about me, and you didn't plan ahead. I don't know if I can respect you at this point.
Absolutely. And I have to say, because I remember one specific case that I asked the audience if, because it was going to be break time and the speaker has more slides than the time. And the audience preferred to stay instead of taking the break. However, that is really an exception. Most of the time people would love, because people value their time, and it's like you say, if you are like, oh no, this is not the one that I want to show you, oh no, this also is not. So people make a judgment based on that.
Mm.
And it is really important that you are aware that as a communicator, the better you start to present, you are going to be able to do better treatment plan presentations, because
Yes.
the skills from one area translate to another area. And when you work on your communication and skills, you are becoming a better communicator. And when you are becoming a better communicator, you are getting better at presenting your treatment plans. And when you do that, your chances of getting more, you're increasing your rate for per acceptance of cases will increase also.
Mm-hmm.
So everything is related to one another.
Yes.
So how does it works, working with you basically? What does the dental practice owner has to do in order to work with you?
Well, we start with a phone call, and I ask them, when are you speaking? What are you speaking about? Who is the audience? What results do you want to produce from your talk? And once we have that outlined, if they have a slide deck already created, we'll take a look at it. And then I may ask them some questions like, what works with this deck? What doesn't work with it? And then I'll give them my opinion about most audiences will look at it this way. And normally I'll offer them an opportunity to work with me as a done for you solution where I'll redesign the slides for them and then deliver it back to them and, walk them through the process of how to present the slides. Because if you don't practice how you present with the slides, it's like having a co speaker on stage with you. And if you never rehearse together, you're going to be a little clumsy, right? And your slides are like you're a co-producer, your co-speaker. So I can show 5 slides in 10 seconds, right? 2 seconds a slide, but I'm telling a story. And as I click through them, I've timed it. So it just looks like it's like a movie unfolding. So it's in that timing and in what are you saying? And then what visuals are you showing? And are you timed with the visuals? And, all of it's like choreographed. You're going to look top notch and that increases your credibility. So I work with them once the slides are designed, how to practice with them. I had one speaker that had a 30-minute talk and she was required to sell a product for $2,000 on stage in 30 minutes. And it's not normally done in a speak to sell model, but they required it. So I worked with her and we spent 30 days working together. And I'm not saying you don't have to work that long, but that's how much time we had until her talk. And I made her practice every day. If it's 30 minutes, just spend 30 minutes, record it, send me the recording, no big deal. And I give her feedback. She spoke to 300 people. She made $72,000 in 30 minutes. Yeah. So
It was worth every penny.
Right. Was it worth her time to have me do it for her? I've worked with several dentists where they called me, Brigette, I'm going on stage Monday and it's Thursday. Can you help me fix these slides? And they'll actually jump on a Zoom call with me and we'll fix them together, and she's so grateful. Oh my gosh, you saved me so much time. Thank you. Or other times I just say, here, let me take them over. Let me do them for you. And I'll hand them back to you in a couple of days. And they're just so grateful because they're busy doctors. They're in their lane of expertise. They know, they trust that I'm in my lane of expertise and we work together. We're like collaborators for their success.
It is joining forces, joining talents, getting the best of each one to work, creating a common goal and creating awesome results. That is what happens when everyone in the team, in this case, the dentist and you, allow each one to use their talents at the best.
Yes.
And collaborate with a common goal.
And when they see the slides and they start using them, they take on a whole new persona. Like they're proud, they're excited. They're not ashamed of their slides. I call it, we eliminated slide shame. And, their confidence goes through the roof, right? They're not, that embarrassment is gone, but they're proud and they know their material's great and they really want to deliver it on a level that people haven't seen before. And believe me, most people have never seen what a good slideshow looks like. When I talk and I show slides before and afters, they're like, I tell them, you'll never look at slides the same way again after this talk. And it's true. They always tell me, oh my God, I'm judging all these people's slides now after I heard your talk.
Yes, I can relate to that because I remember the first time I went to NSA meeting and the National Speaker Association takes the craft of building a speech very seriously. So I took a lot of different tips and hints from different professionals that are brilliant in what they do. However, I realized that after that first conference, I never saw speeches the same way again. Because it was like raising the bar so high.
Yes.
Because I have seen what it could be possible. So now you are saying me this, and I imagine it's the same sensation that you are used to certain quality of slide, and then you see this brilliant slide that like come to life, that can bring a movie to your audience and be part and complement the story that the knowledge that you are sharing with your audience and
Yeah, it becomes
taking the
highly more.
information.
Yeah, it becomes more believable, right? Like they're believing what you're saying, and their confidence in what you're talking about is much higher. So it's a no-brainer. It really is.
I agree. What else would you love for our audience to know about what you are doing?
Well, what I tell people is if you want to put your audience to sleep, put all your slides on a white background. And they're like, "What? What do you mean? I do that." I say, "Yeah, and you're putting them to sleep." And I tell them why. It's a scientific way of how we view, projected light. So projected light comes from a computer, comes from a projector. Reflected light is something that's printed, okay, like a coffee table book or a brochure. It's different how we affect white and black, okay? So when we go to the movie theater and the movie's about to start and they're still showing trailers, right? And then all of a sudden the movie starts and we're all excited, but they didn't turn the lights off. It's like, hello, the movie started. Can you turn the lights down? And we get upset because that whole darkness thing, and then the light shines on the screen, we get excited. And that's what I'm talking about. The white of the background of a slide acts like a flashlight right in your eye, just shining in your eye. And then you're trying to read all this text, and it's the brain power of fighting that light and reading the text just really puts you to sleep. You're brain dead after about 10 minutes. So that's my biggest tip.
Brain dead.
And you're a doctor. Don't be putting people in brain dead.
Killed by brain dead after a conference with bad slides.
Yes.
That, that's the diagnostics. Brigitte, I am really grateful that you came today and share your knowledge with
Thank you.
us. So, where could they find you? How can they contact you?
So my website is presentationdesignexpert.com. And you can see some examples of my work. And I've got a webinar up there, a pre-recorded webinar of showing before and after slides if you want to watch that. And you can also contact me if you're interested in finding out more about how we can work together. There's a contact form there. That's the easiest way. I'm also on LinkedIn, and just spell my name right. Bridget without a D. People put D's in there, and it's like they'll never find me.
And Callahan include the last name?
Yes, yeah. If you search on that, you'll find. I also have a YouTube channel. If you put the name in there in the YouTube channel, there's similar interviews like this one, and also webinars. And also I have this monthly, I call it "Look Over My Shoulder as I Fix Your Slides" office hours. And people come and they bring their slides, and I look at them and I tell them how to make them better. And I'll tell you, man, people just love it. I had 35 people in December come to one event, and not everyone brings their slides. They just curious, like, well, how do you do this? And what do you do? And it's a 90-minute call. And actually I'm doing it 2 times a month now. So next week on February 10th, I'm doing it at 8 a.m. Pacific time. And then the first Tuesday of the month, I do it at 3 p.m. Pacific time. So I can gather people from Europe or gather people from Australia, because we've got people all over the world that I've worked with.
I bet there are, after all, with all this situation, there are more need than ever of great presentations, because we spend a lot of time in front of the computer, and we don't want to kill anybody by boring them to death.
No.
So
My favorite quote, a friend of mine worked on this with me, is she says, crappy slides are like bad breath. You may have it, but you don't know it. So that kind of relates to dentists, right? Bad breath.
Yes, it certainly do. So thank you so much, Bridget, for
You're
being with
welcome.
us today.
You're welcome.
And I want to remind our audience that living doing what you love is something possible, is something feasible. However, it is important that you become conscious and intentional about it.
Hmm.
I am providing you with the tools like those tips that Bridget today shared with us so you can take your presentation to a whole new level. Because even if you don't present for 300,000 people, 300 people, if you do one presentation to one patient and you do it brilliantly, that could change the whole game.
Mm.
So please remember that, and also remember, I am Dr. Raquel Rubin, Doctora Raquel Rubin, expert in leadership, transformation, and resilience. And I want for you to become a leader of your life that lives doing what you love. Blessings.